videos are a few things that we shot over the last several months. Jerry and I sat down and talked about the steps together, and we both come from different backgrounds, Al-anon and AA, and we both have different hurts, habits, and hang-ups, and we both have different takes on the 12 steps. But one of the things we want to do is bring hope to other families, that you can recover, you can get well, and that those little people who are affected by all that you do and say can get better too. And this is our mission, is to share with other people that we can do it, that the whole family can recover and the whole family can be well. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure and subscribe above. Oh, there we are.
Hi, welcome to the Joyous Family blog. Today we're always talking about recovery, and today we're talking about step 3 in particular. Do you want to go through your props?
I have props. Woohoo! Fancy props. Can you see? So we're gonna rephrase. We're going through the 12 steps, and we have done step 1 already. And step 1 is
Came to believe that we were powerless over our addictive tendencies and that our lives had become unmanageable.
And then step 2 is
Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves, or came to believe that God could restore us to sanity.
And why would we say God?
Why? I mean,
well, tell them about Celebrate Recovery.
So yeah, Tanya and I were both steeped in the AA style of 12-step recovery, and now we currently are attendees of the local Celebrate Recovery, which is a Christ-centered 12-step program. I think we look good.
Oh, crooked. Okay, go ahead. Well, I haven't shared it, so we're not really talking to anybody, but that's okay.
Christ-centered 12-step recovery. So they don't really make any bones about at CR that Jesus and Jehovah are their salvation. And AA and some other Al-anon groups, they're more open to the idea that as long as you're not the highest power in your own life, you can find recovery that way. Step 3 is made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God. And that's Celebrate Recovery step. And AA step, it would be to the care of God as we understood Him. Which is interesting because, you know, a lot of Christians could, in my humble opinion, could stand to just do the whole, well, the way I understand God, as opposed to the blanket, this is the way God is and I know it, and if you don't agree with me, well, then obviously you're going to Hades or purgatory at least. No?
No, I think you're right.
Anyway, so currently as I work with my sponsor, we go through the steps. We're currently on step 3. And if you're listening, we'd probably been on step 4 if you didn't blow me off last week. I'm just teasing.
That's not nice.
He had a training thing he forgot to tell me about, so. Step 3 is made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God. This will be my 3rd time through the steps, and what I really struggled with on this time through with step 3, and I probably struggled with it in the past. I was just more focused on the glaring problems of my life, and now I'm able to dig a little bit deeper into the smaller hang-ups. Is that I have a fear that if I give up my will in my life, that I kind of become an automaton, or that I lose my character. And I believe, you know, that that's an argument from the enemy, from the devil. But it doesn't make that dialogue inside my head any less real. When I brought this to my sponsor when we started step 3, he's so quiet, he's great, he's just sitting there listening. And just for me just blabbering away, I kind of talked my way through the whole circle, and I was like, I guess I could pray for willingness to want to give this up and
to be willing to do this. So yeah, that is a big struggle.
So anyway, that's what I've been doing these last couple weeks. I've been praying the third step prayer. Part of my homework is to memorize the third step prayer. And then praying for willingness. And it's so funny. As soon as I start to pray for willingness, I get it. And there's a real sense of peace that this really isn't about ownership or slavery. You know, in the Bible it talks about how we're slaves to Jesus, but it's a willing service. It's not it's not a coercive one. It's not held by the threat of violence. It's out of gratitude. And if I think the idea and my understanding of the gospel is that if our heart is in the right place and we want to serve in a slave type role to our master. Now he happens to be the most gracious and generous master around, so it's not that bad of a deal anyway. Okay, I think it's about it. I don't want to go in such a loop that I end up somewhere I don't want to be. You want to jump in here somewhere?
I do. I'm working on something.
I'm just looking through the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. You know, one of the things that I really like about the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous is that you can say to a newcomer, you know, and they're like, what should I do? And you can say to them, here, take this, read the first 128 pages. Right? Have you heard that?
I have. But what they said to me about the Alcoholics Big Book was, take this and read the Wives chapter. So it has a lot for everybody. And the other things we've learned about the 12 steps, and Dallas Willard and some other great theologians talk about it, is the fact that the 12 steps are kind of the key to a lot of things. They are not just, when we talk about it with Celebrate Recovery, it's also hurts, hang-ups, and habits for everybody. If you're breathing, you've got one. And so that's why we're the Joyous Family. And we talked about, in our earlier ones, we talked about step 1. And I have props tonight. I'm so excited. Then we talked about step 2, came to believe a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. And now we're on, I hope you can see that, step 3. And step 3 is?
Made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God.
And that is from, we're talking thejoyousfamily.com. You see all the little family people?
Is there a great white on there?
There's no great white, but there's Tessa. See Tessa? We'll have to show you Tessa at some point. I don't know if you can see these because our light is goofy again. We're having a hard time with the daylight. But what we're talking about today is the third step. And oftentimes the 3 steps are called...
Oh, the 3-step waltz?
The 3-step waltz. Because we hate to say it, but this is where a lot of people get stuck, is they came to believe that they turned their will and their lives over to the power of God as they understood it, and then they kind of quit there. And we're not going to go into step 4 tonight, but that's kind of where they get stuck. They keep going 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And I don't know about you, but I come back to number 1 a lot because my life becomes unmanageable. And I need to remember that I'm not the one in control, that I am powerless over some of the things going on in my life, which can give me a lot of relief, but it also creates some frustration. I'm like, I've worked the steps several times, and now I'm back to step 1. But it can be both relieving and it can be a struggle.
Yeah, in my home group, they say, be careful you don't do the 1, 2, 3, 12. Yeah.
Having had a spiritual awakening, we took these steps to others. So there are actually 12 steps, and they're broken into 3 little sets of units. And 1 through 3 is your foundation unit, and then 4, 5, and 6 are your working unit, and then 7 and 8 are the last little pieces before you get to the maintenance, which is 9, 10, 11, and 12 are maintenance. 7, 8, and 9 are action
6
steps.
6 and 7. 8 and 9 are working steps.
Well, they're action steps. But anyway, we're going to stay on step 3 so we don't confuse you. So,
we do need to touch on that a little bit. So step 4 is where it really starts to sometimes get sticky, where you begin to make an inventory of all of your fears and well, I should say all of my fears and all of my habits and all of my hang-ups and all the wrongs that I've done. And a lot of people try and bring in some balance, and they'll talk about their character assets as well. You know, well, I was generous in this one situation, and I was forgiving in that situation. But to just do this big inventory list of all the things that you're both proud and ashamed of that have accumulated over your life. So as you can see, I don't know if that sounds as intimidating to you as it does to me, but as you can see, it's pretty easy to get, well, why would I need to do that? God understands all that stuff already. That's just kind of pointless, and a lot of self-justification onto, you know, I've turned up my will and my life over the care of God as I understood it. I'm born again. I'm a new creation under Jesus. Go and sin no more. Bam. I've had the silver bullet cure.
And I think for those of us who've been Christians for a long time, who did this as children, we felt like we've done that already, and we've turned our will and our lives over to God, and somehow we're still not free. And that's part of what this 12 steps do, is create that relationship and challenge you to create that relationship with God, because we often aren't free just by saying a prayer and accepting Jesus as our Savior. We often haven't worked through the hurts, habits, and hang-ups that are causing us issues. And we oftentimes are still stuck in a place, because in AA and Al-anon and in Celebrate Recovery, we call it like an onion. We should have had an onion as a prop. And I call it an onion, so that the onion just keeps peeling back. And I mean, you had an interesting experience this time around when you were talking to me about looking at things that were not concrete. It seems to be pretty concrete when you're drinking or using drugs. You stop, right?
Yeah, but you're talking about step 6 and 7 now, so we should probably.
But you got to talk about step 4.
Well, I had to, because we gave the 1, 2, 3 waltz, and it's like, well, why would you do 1, 2, 3? Why don't you just move into 4? Well, because 4 is a big deal, where you actually have to like document all the things that you hope nobody ever found out about. So.
Well, and the 1, 2, 3 part, when you come back to it after having worked the steps, it's very refreshing. But in the beginning, it's the simplest part. You're like, oh, I can get through 1, 2, 3. I mean, you walk into program, you think, okay, I can do one month, I can do one the next month, and then you hit step 4 and go, oh, this is going to take a little bit longer than I thought. And often people, that's why they call it the 1, 2, 3 walls, because people just get stuck there. It's the simplest part of the program in a sense, but it's a simple program that's hard to do. So we're the Joyous Family. Oh, somebody give me a shout out and tell me whether you can actually see my props or not, because I think the light is causing the problem. You can always go over to Tanya at thejoyousfamily.com and send us an email there, because we are all about anonymity, even though we're doing this loud and proud. But you don't have to. If you have questions, you can shoot questions over there as well, and we would love to hear from you in any way that you want to talk to us. And like Jerry said, the other thing that he's been working on, all of these steps have prayers that go with them, and that's kind of what keeps you in the flow with God. And I think the 3rd step prayer is really good. You want to read that one?
Let me try and do it.
So we're trying to do it from memory.
Okay. It's part of my homework is to memorize this. So, yeah, it's not going to happen. God, I offer myself to Thee, to do with me and to build with me what You will. Relieve from me the bondage of self, so that I may better do Your will. Take away my difficulties, so that victory over them may better witness to those that I would help of Your power, Your love, and Your way of life. May I do Your will in all of my affairs today. Amen. I love and a lot of this stuff and a lot of these prayers and suggestions, there's a real day theme just for today.
Right.
You know, and if I can share, when I was going sober and Tanya and I were separated, you okay with me sharing this?
Yeah.
That Tanya had asked me to come to her with some kind of tangible proof that I would never go out and drink or do drugs again. And I really wanted to be with my family, so I really was searching for what this might look like. and it was really frustrating my recovery. So I took it to my sponsor, and he said, "She did what? She can't do that."
She can't do that.
Well, he didn't say that. He's like, "Look, that's just totally unfair. In reality, we're only sober." He said, "I have no idea." He goes, "What did he say?" He said, "I've been sober for over 30 years. I have no idea what tomorrow looks like. I can tell you this, I'm pretty darn sure I'll be sober today. Tomorrow, I have no idea what's going to happen." And as I began to reside in that truth, it all kind of came into line. Nothing will mess with my serenity and my sobriety more than this idea that I'm going to be sober for the rest of my life. And it actually makes for a great conversation piece. So when people will say, "You mean you don't drink at all anymore? You don't, in Colorado, you don't get high at all, even like, maybe on a holiday or something, or if you get 4th of July off?" And I'll say, "No, I don't." And they'll say, "For the rest of your life?" And I'll say, "Well, at least for today." I think it kind of helps, put the whole thing into perspective of, that I'm just going to be sober for today. That I can pretty well focus on. That I can keep my sights on, and that is a whole lot less of a commitment to try and uphold. So can they see the...
They don't like your Monster Drink shirt.
Who said that?
I'm not gonna...
I don't see that. Where is that?
Ah.
Is that a rock star?
I actually agree with you, and we were doing some studies on ultra energy drinks, and the Monster Drink is kind of an issue, but that's a whole nother subject. We understand, we get it.
I was almost wore my home brew t-shirt that I got, when I was in the restaurant industry. I have a lot of free beer t-shirts. I was never one of those recovery guys who had to give up all of my old clothing and stuff. I mean, this stuff's free. I don't give that
Well,
stuff
actually, you worked at a bar for a little while.
For a long while, yeah.
But back to step 3 and what he was talking about, and I wanted him to be sober forever, and I wanted to make sure he was going to be sober. But that's one of the things we've come to understand is that it's one day at a time. And for my own sobriety, it is one moment at a time. Because when you're talking about controlling other people, taking power from other people, or giving your power to other people, it isn't so tangible. It's kind of like food. We can't go without food. If you're a food addict, you can't go without food, so you have to keep managing how you're going to do that, which is really complicated. Whereas there was a while that I thought I just shouldn't be around people, that I just can't manage with other people because I say hurtful things or I do hurtful things, and it's really problematic. So,
we got a low battery.
We got a low battery. No.
Go plug in.
I can't plug in and move the screen and all that stuff, and then I'd have to get up and move all the props. But anyway,
just wrap up.
We are doing step 3, which is...
I made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him.
And so that's a huge deal for us, because that doesn't just mean, I'm going to turn my sobriety over. For me, I'm going to turn my control issues over. It means, in my understanding, it means I have to turn my finances, my safety, my understanding of my family. One of the biggest ones for me was, if God could sacrifice His own son, why wouldn't He sacrifice my sons? And so what I have come to understand is that Jesus did that willingly. In fact, He pushed the Pharisees into fulfilling the prophecy for Him. He pushed the Romans into fulfilling the prophecy for Him. It was a willing sacrifice as part of the Godhead. But for a while, I spent hours with the therapist because I needed to control the situation, because I needed not to have God interfere with me. I needed to know what was going on, and that's my personal sickness, is trying to control other people, especially Jerry. I couldn't turn my will over to God. I couldn't turn my understanding over to God. I was so stuck. It was, I needed everything where I knew it where it was, and I knew how it was going to end, and I needed it set up in a way that I understood, which drove you crazy.
No, I mean, it helped me with my recovery, honestly, because like the Al-anon principle, that permeates through all of recovery, is the idea that even if you're not well, I can still be well.
Right.
I don't need anybody else in my life to be well in order for me to be well. So, I do want to just touch on the idea that with CR and with groups that meet that have mixed issues, so groups meet sometimes, and in that group you'll have somebody who was wounded by their father, and then somebody else who's an alcoholic or recovering, and somebody else who was addicted to chemicals, and then somebody else who maybe it's lust or pornography, and then, in a lot of ways, all men suffer from all of these things, but we identify as one in particular a lot of times to go through the steps and then focus on that particular thing, and it helps us be more clear as we get higher up in the working steps. But what I've come to appreciate with CR, I was a big skeptic when it came to the idea of having groups that were mixed issues. So, the idea of all these different issues together in one group. My experience is you got a group of guys who are addicted to chemicals. Of course, sure, some of them say, well, I was just an alcoholic. I wasn't one of those guys who did drugs. And really what they were saying was, I'm not a criminal. As I look back on it, really wasn't the fact that they did drugs. It was the fact that that was against the law, and they didn't want to associate themselves with criminality. But to me, they were the same. They were chemical addictions. So I was able to look past that. But anyway, as we progressed in CR, what I've come to appreciate, and I really had to eat crow on this, is that regardless of the symptom, regardless of if it comes out as lust, food addiction, pornography, drugs and alcohol, the causes tend to be very similar. They tend to be resentment being the number one offender, and other forms of where we had expectations and we were let down because we had expectations.
Right.
The letdown isn't the problem. The expectation is what we learned.
So Al-Anon's slogan is stop expecting, start accepting. So you accept what is instead of expecting what might be. And for women, it's often what Hollywood feeds us, that fairy tale of you're going to be carried through the door and he's going to take care of you. Or even if it's not that, it's that he's going to co-parent with you and he's going to be right there with you. And depending on your hurt, habit, or hang-up, that may or may not be happening. In fact, my man here can bench press 465 pounds.
No, I cannot.
He won't carry me up the
cannot.
stairs. I'm so frustrated. But a girlfriend pointed out, because he's frustrated, he's like, well, I'll fireman carry you up the stairs. And I'm like, no, I want to be carried like over the threshold. And a girlfriend said he'd probably end up whacking your head against the wall multiple times because we've got narrow stairs. But it's just like with God. The care of God as we understood him. So part of the problem is that our understanding comes from a childhood understanding. Some people get a very angry God. Some people get a very disconnected God. Some people get a God that doesn't seem to be there. Some people turn away from God because of childhood traumas. A parent was taken, a close friend died, a suicide happened, and they look at God and say, how can this happen? I mean, in fact, right now I'm reading this book, which is about forgiving God. We haven't even touched on forgiveness, but the care of God as you understood him is a whole big ball of wax when you unpack it, because you have to deal with who God is in your life. And oftentimes we see God as male. If you didn't have a great earthly father, you're apt to turn away because of that. It makes a struggle, which I can see why Al-Anon and AA began to take God out of their language. But as Celebrate Recovery came back in, and as Jerry's been studying the Oxford group that started it, you can't have the 12 steps without biblical principles, and you can't have the Celebrate Recovery principles without the 12 steps. They go hand in hand. There has to be something greater than yourself. Now, our choice is to look at a Judeo-Christian understanding of greater than yourselves, but the care of God, I've sat in rooms where women are so hung up because of abuse and because of poor fathers, because of a lot of things that have been going on and how we've masculinized God. And I don't fault them at all. Life can be super hard and super rough, and coming to terms with that takes a lot of time. And maybe they never come to that Judeo-Christian understanding. We have found that God is a loving God, a forgiving God, a caring God, and
a personal God.
And a personal God, and somebody who wants your well-being, that the Beloved created us to be part of us. He put his tent in the middle of Judaism. He sent Christ to die for us as the perfect sacrifice. And so that's why step 3, we joke about the step 3 waltz, that it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, but that's why people get hung up, because they don't want to, or they haven't had an experience with a God who is loving and caring, and somebody who really wants the best for you. And that is a super struggle. You got something you want to read?
I want to read how it works. It's a little bit long, but when you were talking about the 1, 2, 3 waltz, there's some verbiage in here. Maybe it's in the 12 by 12 where it talks about that until we actually went into the 4th step and started to document these things, that our commitment to this cause was mainly theoretical. That until we became willing to go ahead and go to the next step, that our buy-in was what?
Bill says, I can bench 465 pounds, 100 pounds at a time.
Well, that's what I wanted to say. I wanted to pray a quick prayer, which is, God, grant me the ability to bench 465 pounds so that I can carry my wife up the stairs as a newlywed.
Because mine is, what's the point of being able to bench that much if you cannot carry me up the stairs?
I can't bench that much, see? That's why I have to
But
be
anyway,
able to.
I'm sorry I interrupted you. You were talking about care of God and how...
Well, until we go beyond the 3rd step, that our commitment to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God is mainly theoretical. And they do a great job of explaining that in a scientific manner. But in my home group, we read at the beginning of every meeting how it works. You mind if I read that?
Please, go ahead.
Rarely have we found a person... Well, let me start over. Rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. Those who do not recover are people who cannot or will not completely give themselves to this simple program. Usually men and women who are constitutionally incapable of being honest with themselves. There are such unfortunates. They are not at fault. They seem to have been born that way. They are naturally incapable of grasping and developing a manner of living which demands rigorous honesty. Their chances are less than average. There are those, too, who suffer from grave emotional and mental disorders, but many of them do recover if they have the capacity to be honest. Our stories disclose in a general way what we used to be like, what happened, and what we are like now. If you have decided you want what we have and are willing to go to any lengths to get it, then you are ready to take certain steps. At some of these we balked. We thought we could find an easier, softer way, but we could not. I gotta turn the light on.
The camera. Okay, sorry, we keep running into this issue. We've had snow in May, and rain, and it's just dark. So we're dealing with the light. Yeah, go ahead.
At some of these we balked. We thought we could find an easier, softer way, but we could not. With all the earnestness at our command, we beg of you to be fearless and thorough from the very start. Some of us have tried to hold on to our old ideas, and the result was nil until we let go. Absolutely. Remember that we deal with, I'm going to change the word, addiction. Cunning, baffling, powerful. Without help, it is too much for us. But there is one, capital One, who has all power. That one is God. May you find him now. Half measures availed us nothing. We stood at the turning point. We asked his protection and care with complete abandon. Here are the steps we took, which are suggested as a program of recovery. 1, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol.
Step 1.
Or addiction. And in CR we say, we admitted we were powerless over our addictive tendencies and that our lives had become unmanageable. Step 2. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Step 3. Made a decision to turn...
where we are today.
Yeah.
We're going to stop here.
Made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. I gotta go to here.
I think that's enough for today.
We're gonna run out of battery anyway.
So the biggest critical issue is honesty with self, and that is coming to terms with who your higher power is. Go ahead and kick that light off. It's just doing it. And that is coming to terms with who your higher power is and how you decide to look at that. And so the other thing before we close up today, we're going to do this next Monday. We're going to do step 4, and that's really the biggest one. You need to hang with us through step 4.
Not co-signing that. No, step 5.
Well, step 5.
Or 9.
Yeah. So 9 is the one that you
we're not going to go there.
Okay, we're not going to go there. So the one thing I wanted to talk about is something that really helped me that hopefully we can do a book review here on, maybe you can read it too, is Judy and Joe Herzogs, and they have the Changing Lives Foundation and a Facebook page. We'll put that down in the notes. But why don't they just quit? That's something that you and I have talked about, and I've thought about it in my own life. How bad do I want to quit the things that I'm doing, and why don't I just quit? This one is more based on alcohol and drug addiction. Has some great chapters for Christians, has some great chapters on the marijuana situation that's particularly close to us here in Colorado. And Joe was one who helped me 10 years ago to kind of think this through and think through what was happening in my life and how to work with that. So they do some really good work. Hopefully we're going to get a review up soon on this, but you can also go to our blog and click on it there and get it through Amazon. So we're going to do a shameless plug. We really like doing this. If you click through it on Amazon, it does fund us a little bit so we can keep doing it. It doesn't cause you any problems. You can buy whatever you're going to buy. You don't have to even buy the book, but it will give you a review on all those types of things. But I can't say enough about this. This is Changing Lives Foundation. They actually live here in Colorado. It's a really simple read. But it says, the question is, why don't they just quit? I mean, that was my issue. If you love me enough, you would just stop. If you really wanted to, you would just stop. But actually, the acting out, for me, the tantrums, the controlling, the, chasing people down, trying to figure out where they are, trying to stop them from using, those types of things are only symptoms. They're only symptoms of a deeper spiritual issue that's going on in my life.
I think it's a good one. I think we did good. We should probably wrap it up.
So,
pray.
You
want to pray?
Or you want to do the third step prayer? I think ending in prayer is good. I was going to end with a waltz, but neither one of us can waltz, and so we'll just kind of make it up. Hope you like the props. Give us some feedback. We want to be open and honest with you and share with what's going on. I also have some other fun things, some fun things and some pretty intense things over at the website, which is, do I have my prop again?
Bam.
All right. Here's the website, thejoyousfamily.com. Am I holding it flat? Do you see all the little people? I'm such an artist. Can you tell? So, yeah.
I don't think we cleaned your lens. I think it's all foggy because
My phone lens? You think? No? I don't know. I think it's the light more than anything. Okay. So do you want to do the third step prayer?
Yeah, I'll start and then we'll go back and forth.
I don't know it.
Yeah, sure,
You'd have to give me the piece of paper.
I
did have it laminated on paper.
God, I offer myself to thee.
To do with me as you will today.
Yeah, to do with me and build with me.
And build with me.
As you will. Relieve from me the bondage of self.
I don't know.
So that, remove from me my difficulty, so that victory over them may bear witness to those that I would help of your will, your power, and your love. May I? Oh gosh.
So we are going to run out of battery. So if we just click off, we'd really like to say a blessing over you and the reasons why we are doing this.
May I do your will in all my affairs today. Amen.
The reason why we are doing this, and it's not that it's not hard for us, is that we benefited so much from other people's service in giving back to us. We both had sponsors who gave back to us. We've both had communities and group who gave back to us, and that's part of growth, is giving back. So we're just doing it on a little larger scale, and some of it is kind of scary. So your feedback would be greatly appreciated. Thanks for all of you who watched. Be sure and go over to the Joyous thejoyousfamily.com. We've got a cute little Mother's Day video over there, and we do have a YouTube channel. So let us know what you're thinking, and we would love to talk to you a little bit more. Remember, this book is on our website, and we're hoping to do a review and give this one away to somebody who really needs it. And you can always email us at thejoyousfamily.com. And we do take prayer requests. We're good at that. So blessings on your evening. We will be back with you on Monday, which we will do step 4. Hopefully we'll have more exciting props and better drawing.
And a cleaner lens.
And a cleaner lens. And step 4 is pretty important. Step 5 really walks us into the next thing. So thank you so much for watching. And we are... Good night.
Good night.